Can you see my screen with the browser? All right. So this is the backend curriculum site where we'll have all the things that you need, and we are going to use it to kick off our first project. So I go to the site and I see there's writing in this pencil, but we are interested in module 1 because that's what you're in. And we go to projects. Ooh, I need to edit this, but the project is flashcards, and I will post this link in your channel, and I'll edit the links as soon as we finish here. Where are you? There we go. Cool. I posted a link in your Slack channel so you can follow along. This is your, oh man, Slack is being so weird. This is gonna be the first project, and this will be a solo project, meaning that this is something you'll be completing on your own. And the learning goals are that we want to follow an interaction pattern. We're gonna talk a little bit about what an interaction pattern is, but essentially it is the manner in which you're going to interact with the application, right? We want you to write readable code that adheres to Ruby convention. Ruby convention is the kind of the set of rules and practices that the industry uses for writing Ruby. You're going to be writing tests for this project. We'll be covering testing later on this week. You're going to create an object-oriented solution to a problem, meaning that the object should interact to achieve the stated goal. The stated goal is going to be in your interaction pattern. And you are going to make sure that this code is up on GitHub, and you're going to learn to use pull requests to get that up there. The project is called Flashcards. Has anyone not used flashcards? Does anyone not know what flashcards are? Cool. Flashcards are essentially cards, like index cards. They are a study aid where you write the question on one side and the answer on the other, and you just like you shuffle them up, and then you pull a card and like, okay, what's the question? Then you try to figure out the answer, and you check the back of the card to make sure that you got the answer correctly. And this program is going to kind of simulate that. A user will be able to see questions, guesses the answer of the card, and see a final score to see how many of those things you've gotten correctly or incorrectly. And so we're going to break the project down into small classes to demonstrate objects that have a single responsibility. In this page, we have a setup link here. It's going to have some instructions on how to fork this project, and you're going to follow those instructions. We have project requirements. Essentially, we have 4 iterations, and the idea that pass each iteration is essentially worth a point, and we would like to see you complete at the very least up to and including iteration 3. In addition to completing the functionality listed in these iterations here, we want to make sure that we see tests for each class, that you're writing readable code, that you're committing to GitHub frequently, and using pull requests. I also want to mention that we do give you a starter so that there will be some tests that we have written some tests for you, but the rest of the tests you'll have to write on your own. Cool, and this is the example of iteration pattern where we tell you exactly how we want things to work and what methods we're expecting and the functionality of the methods and some examples down below. I want to talk about the rubric. And the rubric here is how we are going to score this project. This project will be due 6 p.m. on Sunday evening. They will be, I just put that in your calendar, so you should see that. This project does not count for or against promotion. It is kind of like the starter, kind of sample project, so that you get used to seeing like how projects are kind of laid out and how, what we kind of expect. On Monday morning, you'll have an evaluation with an instructor where we will go through and score the project and give you feedback as if this was a real live project. We don't count this as towards promotion because it is your first project here. We just want to kind of give you a low stakes kind of place to see what that whole interaction feels like and what that looks like before. Oh, the calendar says Saturday, not Sunday. I don't know what days are. You know what? I have moved it. It is now Sunday. Sorry. That was my mistake. Great catch on that one. Cool. Sam?
Let's say miraculously we find time in the day to try to get ahead. Are we able to start the projects like sooner than later before we get to it during the week? Or would you much prefer we start at the same time, especially for individual projects?
What do you mean by like you have the project like it's due Sunday? It's like whatever time you have between now and then to finish it is when you should be working on it.
Okay, but let's say like we look ahead at like a project that's due, let's say for like, that's not assigned yet, but we see it on the syllabus.
Well, that would be probably a bad idea because that is no guarantee that that is the project that's going to be assigned.
Okay.
We are still, what's the word I'm looking for? Still rearranging the projects. One, rearranging projects. Two, you should not be working on projects early. Your full attention should go to the project currently assigned. Cool. So I want to go through the rubric to kind of talk about like what the expectations are. So exceptional is a 4 here. Meets expectations is passing is a 3. Below expectations is a 2. Well below expectations is a 1. Like I said earlier, what we're looking for, a passing project is a project that receives 3 in every single category. A project that is passing with concerns is going to be a project that does not meet, that makes a 2 in one of these categories. A failing project is a one that scores a 2 on 2 of these categories. Is that clear? Do I need to, is that clear and well said? I'm literally asking. I just want to make sure we all understand.
Yes.
Cool. Excellent. And so functionality is fairly straightforward in that there are 4 iterations for this project. And essentially, if you get to full iteration 4 and complete iteration 4, that is going to be a 4. If you complete iteration 3, that's going to be a 3 and so forth. Ruby mechanics, we want to see 3s that you're using Ruby's built-in data types and methods, flow control and enumerables, you're doing things appropriately. Exceptional would be like you're using things that we never taught you in a well-considered way. Below expectations is that you are not using in built-in data types and methods, flow control and enumerables. Ruby conventions are kind of like the standards that we expect you. Like we expect like code to be properly indented, spaced, lines are not excessively long. Essentially like the kind of quality of life of working in the code set. Testing is you want to make sure that you are writing tests and using test-driven development. We're going to go more into detail about what that is starting tomorrow. We'll be talking about that more, but essentially the idea, the big picture is that there should be no code you write that is not tested. And this rubric communicates that. Finally, version control. We want you to get into the habit of committing to GitHub and pushing to GitHub on a regular basis. Honestly, this is the criteria I kind of care least about, because the idea is that if you are not commuting off enough, that is something that is easily fixable. Like we'll just, you know, set up a timer on your computer or something that'll tell you commit on a regular basis. But like I'm most, and this is something we can fix with a little work. Like these are much more kind of important. I kind of want to go back to our talk this morning about code, and the idea is that done is better than perfect. There is no such thing as perfect. Like there will always be a way that you can improve your code, and the idea is that we want to see you write good code. There's no such thing as perfect code. I would also say that before moving on to iteration 4, I would go back and make sure that you have completed iterations 1 through 3 and done so well. There is nothing less satisfying than having to score a project downward because they missed out on things in earlier iterations because they're trying to reach to go and beyond. Like, let us make sure that we get what we need to get done ahead of time. Cool. I want to mention that we do have project check-ins where we'll check in with you on your projects scheduled for this Thursday. Because this is a shorter project in scope, there will be only 1 project check-in. For the group projects, we will generally have 2. because they take place over 2 weeks generally. So there'll be multiple times check-in, but because of the short time frame for this project, there'll be one check-in to make sure you're all in the right spot, answer questions, etc. Do you all have any questions about this project so far? Perhaps not about the project itself because we've just given it to you, but essentially how grading works, what we expect. This is individual, so it's not like so academic integrity comes to effect. Adam?
Yeah, quick clarification. So this is sort of a test project. It's not going to go for or against us, but is this one also, just to be clear, a group project where we get a partner, or is this one individual?
No, this is solo.
Great. Okay.
Yep. The sequence is that this project is solo, your next project is a pair, the project after that is a group, and then we finish with a solo. Joe?
I know you said version control is what you care the least, but you know, let's say you have someone who writes good code, not me, but someone.
No, we're not talking bad about ourselves. No, we're not doing that. You write great code.
I'll try.
We don't say bad things about ourselves. So that like I think that as a staff, and I know that Meg and Kat will agree, like we do not want to hear you talking down yourselves, any of you. Like that is no, we don't do that here. Because like you start saying about yourself, you start to believe it, and then like that's just a circle. Like no, we're all doing great things here. So please continue, Joe. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I felt that like I needed to call that out particularly.
Thanks. But yeah, so like, you know, if you happen to just make very little mistakes, I guess, let's say you do like 5-10 commits, like what's that going to look like?
I mean, that like we're going to go by the rubric. Like that is going to be a not passing project if you make 5 commits in the whole thing, right? The thing is that we want you to build these good habits, and a very good habit is committing on a regular basis.
Okay.
Like I'll be straight up honest with you. Like sometimes I get in that zone and I forget. Like I'll be like 2 hours in, I'm like, oh, because you get in that zone. It's challenging, but like I would challenge you to commit on a regular basis. Like set a timer for yourself. Like it goes ding, time to commit. Like I think the Pomodoro method is a great method for that because like you're working for 25 minutes. When it's time to take a break, just do a quick commit before you go to the bathroom, get a drink of water, whatever.
Got it.
Right? Like the habit's important, and like I said, it is a habit. We can teach you habits. We can fix that. That's why it's like I consider it the least important because it's like, hey, we can fix this easily.
Okay.
Right. The other stuff, like stuff you don't get, that's a bit harder.
Got it. Okay. Cool. Thanks.
Gus?
Yeah, so on the project page, I'm seeing a link for a peer code review template. Is that something that we're doing for this project? And if so,
no.
when? No? Okay.
It is not. Because
Thanks.
you're doing it by yourself.
Okay, thanks.
All right. So since we have a little bit extra time, what are y'all afraid about this project? What are your anxieties? Let's talk about those. It's okay to have anxieties. Jordan?
Initial anxiety is just like where to start. And I actually just messaged my mentor asking if he has time later today, kind of take 10 minutes and help me game plan that.
Yeah, I think I would say the first start is like reading the whole thing.
Yeah,
right.
That too.
Like I think like if I never had to say someone, did you read the instructions? I would be the happiest person on this planet, right? Reading the instructions is really important. Planning is really important. You have 4 iterations, like set benchmarks for yourself. I'm like, you know, like, okay, I plan to be done with this portion at this day time marker. So you have an idea of like when it's going to be, like taking into account like, okay, so I think it's also safe to assume that as you go forward in the project, it's going to get harder. Like the third iteration is not going to be as easy as the first iteration, right? And kind of taking that into account. Understand, planning for the fact that probably most of your work on iteration 3 is going to be over the weekend when you don't have scheduled class and you can just kind of like get to it, right? Thinking about those things. I would say in general, the more time you put into planning, the better off you're going to be. I think people that go off and start writing code without planning or kind of just read the things, just kind of get a sense of the big picture are the ones that most often run into the most trouble later on.
Cool.
V?
I think that anxiety-wise, it would be writing the task, but I think that my biggest fear would be that I start the project and I realize that everything that I thought I understood from the pre-work, I didn't at all.
Yeah.
And I have to start from scratch, you know?
Yeah, I think that's legit. I think that is less to worry about than you think of, because the idea here is that like I think that is a reasonable anxiety to have, but I also want to push back and say that like, you know what, the thing is that when you're writing code, the actual typing part is very small. The bar part is the biggest part of writing code, is like sitting there thinking about a thing. And the thing is that if you reach that part where you realize that you did something wrong and you have to now redo it, but you've already solved that problem in your mind, the only time it's really going to be taken up is like the typing time because you figured it out in your mind. And so I think that will go better than you think it is. I would recommend, just in general, deleting code is like the best thing on the planet because like code is free. And just like you've done the hard part. The hard part is figuring out the problem. The typing part is going to be real small. So I think that it's less a worry than you think. Sam?
There was a breakout room in State of Turing where a Mod 4 student was talking about how she missed a few fine details and a whole iteration on top of that and submitted it, and those type of things that you can't go back on. And she was mentioning how she failed the whole thing. Well, it's not really a fine detail to miss a whole iteration, but I guess just like not missing any details and just thoroughly reading the instructions as much as possible while we have time, I guess.
Yeah, and it's not even like, you know, I would say like not even missing an iteration. That is just like, it's thing can happen. Like what if you have printed out and like two pieces of paper stuck together? Like that's something that's probably happened to all of us, right? And so like we like that's why, you know, always double check your work. And this is a thing, like this first project does not count towards promotion. So I think that there is no greater teacher than making mistakes. And you can sure as hell bet that Mod 4 student's never going to make that mistake again. You know, like in anything, they're going to make sure every single thing they read from here on out is going to be read like 3 times, right? I feel like some wise person said that like a true master is someone who's made 10,000 mistakes. And I think that one of the goals of Turing is to compress your 10,000, well, probably not 10,000 mistakes, but like a good 3,000 to 4,000 mistakes and compress that into your 7 months here. So you've gotten like 3,000 to 4,000 mistakes out of your way already in a short period of time. And then you have your career going forward to make some more mistakes. Isabel, I saw the hand up temporarily. It has somehow disappeared, but I'm still going to call you out on it.
Yeah, I think it's kind of just like further elaborating on other people. That's why I kind of lowered the hand. But I would say I'm more nervous about time management right now because I do really want to like go through all these lessons and note take and do all of the things so that way I know that I'm super getting a comprehensive understanding on this, but then trying to do that and then trying to do a project. I think that this is where I'm going to start figuring out like, how do I juggle this?
Yeah. And I would say there's no right answer for everyone. Like the balance is going to, you're going to find your balance, and what your balance is going to be different for other people. I would say that the projects are going to be, should deserve some higher priority because the application of, the project is the literal application of the things we're teaching you in class. One thing that term we believe in is just late education, we call it, is that we'll ask you to do something and you're going to figure out, like, I don't understand how we do this. Like, what is going on? And then we'll drop a class on it just after you have that initial struggle. One, because we want you to try something without knowing the proper way to do something, because I think that is like trying to do something as we call it by hand is so powerful because it gives you an understanding of what's happening under the hood. So get used to the whole idea of just late education. But the projects are a pure practical application. Reading lesson plans should not take too long. Again, we're not looking for you to read lesson plans in advance to gain complete mastery of that thing. We just want you to have some kind of familiarity with the term so you don't hear it for the first time. And you're going to find that balance, and the fact that you're thinking about it is a good sign. And everyone here is going to do great. It's going to work out great. Things are going to be awesome. Me, Kat, and Meg are going to be like Monday. We're going to be like, wow, everything was amazing. That's how things are going to work out. We think positive things, good things are going to happen. Joe?
Kind of a specific question.
Yeah.
Do you ever, for the testing bit, do you ever set the assert equal an object? Because I think I ran into problems when I tried that.
You can assert that an object equals itself. We're going to go into testing further starting tomorrow, and we'll show you some different things you can do to kind of test objects.
Okay. I guess my specific question is, like, when I set it to equal the object, I think the pound sign, make it a comment, like.
Unclear about exactly what your error having. I would suggest like posting that question in the code help channel. We can take a look at with a little more context.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep, that's what the channel's for. So we actually see the code, right? Like you telling me what the code is, I'm like, yeah, it's like the adult in Charlie Brown. It's like I just hear words, I'm like, that does not help. But yeah, post your code in there. We'll take a look at it.
Yeah, thanks.
Cool. Joseph? Sorry.
All right. So just sort of looking at the lesson plan.
You're really low.
Can you hear me? Oh.
Barely.
Can you hear me a little bit better now?
A little bit. Just yell. Just scream at me.
All right. So looking at the lesson plan for module 1, I was just to like get it in order just by going off the calendar, like going to lessons where it's like before objects, instances, and classes even. That's like the 5th one listed, but that's our biggest thing tomorrow. Like,
the list of lessons is not going to be in order because every inning we kind of shift the order to, like, there's no rhyme or reason to the list of lessons. The idea is that like every inning we don't teach things exactly in the same order every time. We're always kind of experimenting to see what it is. So I would search by the lesson name.
Cool.
Yeah, it's also sometimes like I also change the names of the lessons for funsies. I think like tomorrow's objects, instances, classes, oh my, but there's no oh my in the thing. So.
Okay, just keeping us on our toes. I see.
Yeah, keeping on your toes. Make sure you're paying attention.
That's the perfect thing.
But yeah, if there is a class that does not have an obvious lesson plan, feel free to like just shoot us a message and just post a selection like, hey, just want to make sure like what's the lesson plan for this? We'd be more than happy to post a link. Cool. All right, it is 2:49. You are all set for the day. You have PD up next. The link for that is going to be in your calendar, and I believe it is Tracy leading that. So you get to meet another fantastic person on our team. But we'll be on Slack if you have any further questions. Goodbye.